channel. So I wanted to go over that just a little bit, but to get started, I want to talk about what happens to our core post-baby and why we should exercise in a way that's appropriate for really tightening up the core properly. I'm a mom of 4 kids, and I got into this because I was struggling myself, especially after my 2nd kid, but even more after my 4th child. I was an exercise instructor. I ran an all-women's gym, Curves, for those who are old enough as like I am to remember something like that. But after my 2nd baby, I was really at a loss as to why my core wasn't tightening. I was having leaking issues. I was having back pain. I was really struggling, and I guess the worst part for me was not knowing why the things that I had done before after baby number 1 to really like strengthen my body wasn't working after babies 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So we're going to go over that just a little bit because I always do that introduction because I find that with new people on, there's always kind of an information gap. So I want to close that gap, and then we're going to talk a little bit of, about C-sections and answer any questions that you may have. So a lot of times when we think of the best exercises for our mommy tummy, we think of things like sit-ups, V-sits, things that are really heavy-duty core focus, and I would say they tend to lean towards focusing on the rectus abdominis, which is like the 6-pack. I think that happens because that's what we see. That's on the outside. That's what makes the little, washboard abs look. So we get really, I think a lot of the exercises that we find on YouTube, which is what I found on YouTube, were really focused on the external muscles of the core. The rectus abdominis, the external obliques, because that's what you kind of see through the skin, and that gives that kind of washboard abs look. So not that that is bad, but that's often not the most stretched out part of our core, and it's not the part of our core that really tightens us up and holds us in this way around the waist. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. Because that was a problem that I ran into. I was doing all of these exercises that I thought were the appropriate core exercises, and I literally taught core exercise classes. When I was in graduate school, I was getting my a public health degree, a master's in health education. I was an aerobics instructor at the YMCA, and one of the classes that I taught and I was trained to do was core exercises, and I really never thought about moms and their core. So one thing that I want to start off this chat with is kind of a little exercise that you can do with me to kind of build some awareness. I want you to assess your tummy with me, whether you're standing or sitting. I want you to do a little something to kind of just see this, how your stomach is currently. So let's lean back. So we're going to lean back and we're going to look down. When you do that, do you see bulging coming up through your midline? So what I want you to do is lean back, look down. Do you see bulging coming up through your midline? If you see that, put yes in the comments. Where did I get this cool anatomy suit? I got it off of Amazon, but unfortunately I can't find it again. I really need a new one. Mine was like super stretched out. Okay, so we're doing this quick test to see if you have a thing called diastasis recti. That's going to be the first thing I want us to just kind of check for, just so that you can have that awareness. I want you to lean back, look down. You can lean back as far as you feel like it. And if you see coning or doming coming up through your midline, I want you to put yes in the comments. I see one yes. I see a no from Sarah. Let me see. I recently learned I have an abdominal hernia. Okay, yeah, so that's not uncommon. Lots of ladies who go through my programs have abdominal hernias because of the stretching of that midline tissue or other connective tissues. And we can talk about that. Yes, so I see yes, yes, yes. I saw one no so far. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, here's another thing I want you to check for. I want you to lean back as far as you can. Pretend like you're just kind of coming out of a sit-up. Can you keep your abs flat as you lean back, without actually touching the chair? Can you keep your abs flat? Or does your 6-pack bulge out? Does the whole thing bulge out? Say yes or you can put no in the comments. And this might be easier for you to do on the floor. Get down into a sit position, see how far you can come up while keeping your six-pack muscles flat, okay? If you see bulging, if you see your six-pack bulge forward as you lean back, I want you to put yes in the comments, okay? If you don't see that bulging, yes, it bulges. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I like to kind of bring that as, ask that question to just try to raise awareness, because I think it's really important that we understand our trouble areas so that we can work on it properly, okay? So the first thing that we checked for, and don't worry if you miss something that we're talking about, I post these to my YouTube by the next week, okay? So if you missed that test, you can go back to my YouTube channel. You can find a lot of those like self-assessments. So that first test we did where we leaned back and we looked to see if we saw bulging at our midline, why that is the case, that is from pregnancy. Mostly from pregnancy. There are people who have come into my programs that have never been pregnant, but a similar issue really occurs with them, whether it's from weight or from other pressure management issues of the core. Okay, so what you're seeing when you lean back and you look down, you see that kind of bulging from the midsection. What happened during pregnancy is that your core really took a stretching, all right? So all the muscles of your core, but not only that, the connective tissue that connects the muscles together have also become stretched out. So this midline tissue, and that's very normal. So don't feel like, okay, something wrong with me, why did my body do that? Totally normal. In 100% of pregnancies that go through the third trimester, you're going to have stretching of the abdomen. You're going to have stretching of the connective tissues that connect the abdominal muscles together to allow for the baby to grow in the womb. This midline tissue here can go from looking something thin like this to something wider like this, or even wider like this. I've had moms come to me with like 6-finger width separation between the rectus abdominis muscles. So what happens is that midline tissue stretches out to help with accommodating the baby. So after pregnancy, 1 out of 3 of us will still have this stretching, and I'm one of those 3 people. This is what I discovered why I was struggling so hard to get my body strong again, was because in part I had this kind of major stretching with subsequent babies. The first baby, everything kind of tightened up pretty well, but after the second, third, and fourth baby I had, it wasn't so simple. So this midline tissue stretches, and that's called diastasis recti. Thanks so much for the hearts. This midline tissue stretches, and that's called diastasis recti. Diastasis means separation. Rectus refers to your rectus abdominis muscles. Okay, so when you lean back, you're kind of increasing the pressure in your abdomen. And what happens is that pressure is coming out through the weakest point. So right now, this area here, that stretched out tissue, is a bit weaker than it was before. So now you're seeing that stretched out tissue kind of bulge out as you lean back. So that's that bulging that you're seeing, okay? Is that. Now, if you're seeing just generalized bulging where when you lean back, you're seeing your rectus abdominis kind of pop up. You're seeing that pop up. You're not able to use your muscles to hold it flat. You're seeing that pop up. What you're seeing there is we would want more strengthening of the deeper core muscles. So let me just go through the different layers of abdominal muscles. So we have the rectus abdominis here, okay? Aw, Galleria 27, FYI, you are the reason why I'm back to the way I was before kids. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's the thing that keeps me going, because I struggle with this, so I totally get, how it feels to struggle, especially for me with the back pain, with the leaking. All of that is all connected, and having, looking pregnant when I wasn't, and people actually saying like, "Are you pregnant?" I'm like, "No." So I experienced all those things. So anyway, I'm so happy to help. Okay. So with the, we're going through now what the different layers, the abdominal layers of the stomach do, okay? So you have your rectus abdominis on the top. That is a flexion muscle, so that's why you are able to sit up in bed. That helps you flex up. You have your obliques. They help you to kind of crisscross, okay? And then you have your Your transverse abdominis, right under your internal obliques, that one actually wraps around your waistline and cinches you in this way. Okay, so if you're doing exercises that you're focusing on that flexion, you're not necessarily getting the muscle that actually tightens around your waist. You're focusing on the flexion muscle, the six-pack muscle, okay, which is not bad. It's just not necessarily getting that muscle that tightens around your waist. And that could be why when you do the sit-up, you're able to sit up, and you may see even your six-pack muscles like pop out, as far as like you'll see a lot of definition, but you will see that you can't keep it flat because that deeper core muscle, the transverse abdominis that wraps around your waist, cinches you in this way. You're noticing that that's not strong enough to keep your tummy in flat. Okay, and that's going to be a really important player when it comes to tightening up that mommy tummy. Not only that, but also very helpful for back issues and for pelvic floor issues as well, because it's all connected.